Level Up Latina partners with working women and mamas alike to guide them in achieving fulfilling career and life goals through financial empowerment, professional or leadership coaching, and personal wellness. Find the unique coaching you need to succeed.
You're listening to Vero, Ceci, and Irene, and we are Level Up Latina.
Welcome to another episode of the Level Up Latina podcast. I believe this is episode 313. This is the podcast where we help mujeres level up in every area of life, your career, your relationship, and personal growth. Today's conversation is going to hit deep, I believe. We're going to be talking about healing. We're going to be talking about resilience and legacy. But before we get into it, let's check in con mis co-hosts Vero and Irene. ¿Cómo están, chulas, el día de hoy? Estamos grabando en un viernes por la noche.
Good. Ready for my date night in less than an hour. Let's get this show on the road.
Let's get it started. Yo me siento bien, gracias a Dios. I'm glad the week is pretty much, it's a Friday, so the week is over. I don't work tomorrow. But it's been intense back-to-back weeks with my husband traveling. I'm just excited for him to be back tonight. And tomorrow is a full day of kid stuff. So I'm just enjoying my evening. I'm like, ¿sabes qué? Quiero estar enojada, but I have no reason to be mad right now. I want to be mad. And I'm like, nah, como que no. So yeah, but I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
Estás a gusto, es lo bueno. Pues yo estoy tomándome un little coñac que me sirvió mi marido. Brindamos hace rato. As you two know, today's my mom's birthday. It would have been her 73rd birthday, her second heavenly birthday. And so because I am going through my own healing and grief journey, I just felt like today's topic was appropriate. And because, nosotras como Latinas siempre estamos en la chinga, right? Siempre carrying the stories of others and the struggles from the generations before us. So we've learned to be strong, to endure, to push through. But what happens when we decide that the healing, not the hustling, is the new definition of strength? So we're going to be talking about emotional wellness, breaking generational cycles, and what it looks to build new legacies for ourselves and for our families. So whether you're starting your healing apenas or you've been doing inner or self-work for years, I think this episode is for you. So I want to remind you that you are both the healer and the legacy. So grab your cafecito, tu copita, lo que sea, get cozy, and let's get right into it, okay? So my first question aquí para mis co-hosts is related to breaking cycles. So I wanted to ask, when did you first realize that you were carrying generational patterns that were not serving you? And have you healed from those patterns, or what have you done to heal from those patterns?
When we saw these questions that you sent us beforehand, I thought about the first thing that came to mind was my mom being single because she had a hard relationship. And I remember thinking that growing up, she always talked about how hard relationships were. And I remember growing up with a lot of friends that were from single parent households, mostly single moms. I had one friend, in fact, very good friend. Mm-hmm. She dated my brother for many years. And all the women in that family didn't have men in their lives. They all had kids, but there were no dads. And it was so interesting. But I remember thinking, like, where we grew up, single parenthood was very common. And no knock on it. Mm-hmm. But like my life is very different. And then the people that I'm, my husband's family, it's a lot of moms and dads together making it work. Some relationships don't work and not everyone is in a marriage like the way it started, but there's co-parenting, really good co-parenting that we're seeing, and even like blended families. And that's very different than how I grew up. And my mom always talks about how you don't get married again. You don't start over if it didn't work with the man that you married. So I kind of always thought, like, I judged indirectly, like, people that started over or people that got remarried. Like, it was a critical thing. And I think it was just trauma. It was just trauma of people being married to the wrong person for too long, or unhappy their whole marriage, or these good Catholic women that were married once and then they were abused forever. Like, all those ideas, you don't realize you're being brought up with them. But I'm really proud of, like, being like a representation of a two-parent household, and then also really embracing anybody in my family that has, stepdaddy, two daddies, two mamas. Like, a family doesn't have to be what we thought it was growing up. And some of what we do now can be trauma if we're forcing the wrong thing, like staying, for instance, married when it's better to be single.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what we grow up with and what we see, and we're like, oh, okay, we sin querer queriendo, because it's so, lo tenemos muy adentro, we kind of like, we do become a little judgy, pero qué bueno that we are able to twist it and, shift our minds to see it another way, right? Because there's other ways to look at, like you said, the single mom, and now understanding like, oh my God, se quedaron viudas todos esos años. I know so many women like that too. Like, se quedaron, ya no se volvieron a casar.
Y luego también a veces amargadas. I mean, that's trauma. That's a generational cycle that you don't get to be like, F that man. It didn't work with that man. I'm going to be single forever. We're breaking those cycles. It's okay to have a second marriage. It's okay to have a lot of boyfriends. It's okay to date in your 40s. It's okay. All these things that when I was growing up, we were judging everybody. Like, it was like super radical.
Yeah. ¿Y tú, Vero, when did you notice like that you were either carrying someone else's pattern?
I think recently, not recently. I've become more aware of it being a pattern after I had kids, with the way my mom does certain things, right? And I always identified so much more with my dad, because I was a total dude, right? I was like a little tomboy. But I was always, like I said, I've shared it before. I've always been closer to my dad, or when I was younger, I was really close to my dad, and I had that kind of like hit or miss with my mom, just because I wasn't the ideal like little girl, right? In the sense of what she was expecting me to be, clean, cook, toda esa onda. So I still to this day have a hard time cooking and cleaning, but I do it. But I think when I was, when we talk about being late, my dad is not someone. My dad runs on time. He runs on time, all that good stuff. But he does have la costumbre to be like, que ya es esa hora, and yelling, faltan 5, que falta esto. And my mom, I think because of an experience she had when she was little, when she started going to school, I think when in los ranchos empezaban la escuela un poquito más tarde, so kids were a little older, right? But her first experience with her teacher was a really bad experience in the sense of how this teacher just was really mean. And my mom le tocó que la regañó, esa maestra la disciplinó, and she doesn't really explain the extent of the action. But anytime you're hovering over my mom or overlooking her, like kind of, she freezes. She freezes. And
wow.
She's recently mentioned it a lot more than before. She said, esa maestra así, no sé, esa maestra cuando estaba yo chiquita, se me causa que cuando, quítate, no estés allí. No estés alrededor de mí. She would like move away, walk away from me. Don't stand behind me. Don't look over my shoulder to what I'm doing. That's one thing that she freezes. So one thing I've noticed about myself most recent than not, besides the fact that I don't usually run on time like my dad, I can be on time. And just how it's very easy for me to run behind, to run late. But when I do notice that I'm running behind, I freeze like my mom. Instead of it like, let me do the things I need to do, I do everything but what I have to do. It's not because I'm like, I already know what needs to get done, but my mind messes me up. And it's more of like, why can't I just do these 3 things, simple things? Let's say we're packing last minute to go somewhere. And perfect example, sometimes we'll be like, let's go last minute, vamos a ir a San Diego, and we'll leave after work and we'll just pack the stuff for the kids. And we'll have the pile of laundry right in the middle. Everything's clean. The pile of laundry is there. All I have to do is grab 3 chonies, 3 shirts, and thing per kid, and grab a couple outfits y vámonos. Just stuff them in the bag. My brain doesn't let me just do that. My brain starts, let me categorize everything. Lo voy a separar, lo voy a doblar. Y ya que tenga todo organizado, va a ser más fácil para mí hacerlo. Knowing that that's not the easy way. And that's not what I have time for. And instead of that, I just freeze. And I'm like, I walk away and I go back to something else. And I avoid the task in a sense. But I know it's not avoidance because I know it needs to get done. It's super weird. But I have those little behaviors of my mom that once you start rushing her, I can't rush. It's really weird. So yeah, that's one thing that I'm trying to work through.
No, I get it. Me ha pasado lo mismo. Yo también. I'm just like, I know. Okay, it happened to me today. I was like, okay, I need to get back at a certain time or whatever. And I was at my sister's house. And it's hard not to like walk away from a baby. So I still yo baile. I was like, oh my God, I know I need to leave. I need to be home. I need to go back to cooking. I need to go pick up the girls. But I was like, okay, ya me voy. Siempre hago eso. Anyway, were you going to say something else?
No, gracias. Gracias por compartir. Que no estoy sola en esto. Gracias.
Ay, no, yeah, está difícil. Ay, man, for me, I want to say that I started, también, it's funny, like, once you become a mom, once you know, are married, that's when it clicks and you're like, oh, shit, I'm doing that. I noticed it after I got married, and I guess the way I would speak to my husband, because he would say, hey, me estás hablando igual como tu mamá le habla a tu papá. And my mom would always talk, como, no grosera, but it sounded disrespectful to my dad and just like
condescending,
loud,
maybe like condescending.
Condescending. Siempre fue así. And so he would check me and say, hey, me estás hablando como tu mamá le habla a tu papá. You're talking just the way your mom talks to your dad. Like, that's not cool, you know? And so I would I would notice it. And I think, look, as you know, I was coming up with these questions and thinking about my own answers. I believe that my mom used that as a defense mechanism, just the way she treated my dad and was like, okay, I'm going to take over. I'm going to like handle everything in the household, because the stories that I hear from them growing up is that, you know, mi abuelo era bien, you know, mujeriego, the way he would treat my grandma, you know, and I never saw it because I was little when they, you know, both passed. But I think that's where, I mean, that's the way I'm not a therapist or anything, but that's the way I think that's what it was. It was like a defense mechanism that she just like se ponía en la pared, and, you know, I'm not going to let a man kind of, you know, run my life. Like, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how it's going to be. So now and then also I've also inherited the yelling at my kids and the yelling. And so I try to check myself. It's hard. I still yell, you know, but I try not to. And I don't know. I try to set boundaries and then acknowledge or think about like, okay, how is that going to come out? How should I say that when, especially if I'm having like an argument with my husband or I want to reprimand the girls. It's like, okay, no quiero repetir lo mismo, but inevitably it does come out. So it's like, we're trying to heal. We're trying to acknowledge these things, but it's like, they're still there, and I'm acknowledging that they're still there, and it's a work in progress. Okay, so breaking cycles, recognizing that we inherit these patterns from our ancestors, from our parents. I think we all talked about our moms, right? We all talked about our moms because that's the figure. But now let's talk a little bit about how can we redefine resiliency, right? Because como Latinas, you know, por todo lo que hemos pasado, everything we've gone through, everything that we do, and we just roll up our sleeves and get it done. We always say like, oh, somos bien resilient. And it's often something that we celebrate. Like, yes, resilient, lo hacemos. But many times it's just us really being in survival mode. It's being in survival mode. And I know that that's something that I've always been in survival mode all my life, you know, as the eldest, like, ven acá, translate this, come to this appointment, shit, this happened, all right, okay, what needs to happen? How can we fix? How can I help? So with that in mind, how can we shift that mindset? How can we shift from being resilient to actually thriving and resting our strength? So it's kind of like a two-pronged question, but yeah, how do we just change that? How do we shift that?
It's ingrained in us to be resilient, meaning we can just to withstand those difficult challenges, right? Like if you look up the definition, it's either going to be being able to withstand difficult or and then if it's an object, like being able to recoil, spring back, come back quickly, right? So if you think about it, it's more of like use it to our benefit, not in the sense of surviving, but just as in like when you are going through those difficult times or a challenge, you know that you will be able to get through it. You will be able to get through it. Maybe not quickly, but you have what it takes to get you through it to be able to thrive. So I feel that it goes hand in hand, and I don't think I see it as a form of it holding you back, but a way of pushing you forward. to be able to get through it and be able to say, hey, now I can relax and be able to thrive in whatever I'm doing, right? But it shows us the beauty in not giving up, not quitting. And I think for many times, no matter what challenges, right now we're talking about our moms, or we just so happen to use our moms as examples and in the traumas or the experiences we're having now. Those women have been hella resilient. They have, they're bent, not broken, right?
Oh, yeah.
Bent, not broken. And no matter what they did, they taught us that at the end of the day, it's gonna be okay. And look at us, maybe we have great days and we have our days that are not so great. But it's more of like through their resiliency in those, through the challenges to survive, they've allowed us to now be like, there's this power, this strength, this power in that resiliency to push you to the thriving. So it's kind of works hand in hand in a sense for me. So I don't know how to get past it, Ceci. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Like you said, it's okay. Like, we have our days. We have our days. ¿Y tú, Irene?
I was thinking, it's interesting that it says like redefining resiliency. I think the question sort of is trying to lean in on the fact that like sometimes because culturally we think resiliency is such a good thing, we take too much. We go overboard,
Yes.
We're overwhelmed, we take
Have
on
too
too
much
much,
on our
we do
plate.
too much. Like, I'm resilient. So you're just a doormat, at least in my upbringing. I think the mom, we all brought up our moms, which is we did not plan, but she was a doormat for so long. And then part of that also made her like a warrior that could do so much for so long. So it like wasn't a bad thing, but it was because there were some things that she just needed to say, no more. Like I won't be beaten by my husband, for instance, but because she's being resilient in her marriage and raising her kids and saliendo adelante, she likes to say, and like her kids were growing up and making it and surviving, right? We're all in survival mode. She just thought it was her cross to bear to be resilient. So the redefinition of resiliency is, resilient, but to a point. Resilient, but assessing how far your resiliency should go. Like, and that professional athletes, right? They got to, at some point, to a point, not break their bodies so they can play. They're the toughest, football. I'm so into football, right? These days, American football. And I just wonder, like, how do they not get hurt every single play? How does everybody not break their leg, at least a little pinky? It just seems like they're so resilient. They can take it. But no, like they also have so much conditioning, so many doctors, so much evaluation, so much is poured into them being truly resilient, not just the doormat, not just being beat up, right? All the time because you can take it. You're a big, strong man. So I think as women, we just need to think about how we define resiliency and think about the fact that we may be going way too far with this identity of, I can do it, I can take it, I can do it. Because then I think when you stop and say, I choose to be as resilient as I want to be with some things in my life, other things I don't want to be, I don't care about it, it's not important to me, I don't like that, and here's my hard no. And I think that's when you thrive. You thrive when you are resilient in the things you want to be resilient in and not in everything blanketly. And I think that's when you thrive. And then the last part of your question said, how do you rest your strength? Girl, I never heard that. And I was like, that's amazing. You're so strong, but you rest. You're not always strong. Like your strength has to rest. I had never heard that in my life, but that makes a lot of sense. Rest. Don't always be strong. Sometimes defer. You be strong. You be strong this whole month, my friend. I ain't doing it. I had a dumb, weird example. Last thing I'll say about that. My kids have all gone to science camp, all 3 years of middle school. And Dan, now that I think about it, like 1 year of elementary. So I have 3 kids. So that means that 4 years in a row, I did it for the oldest. 4 years in a row, I did it for the middle child. And 3 years in a row, I did it for the youngest. Set up the meetings, went to the meetings, sent the check, filled the forms, packed the bag, bought the stuff. And this year was, I should have Diego do it this year. And then I thought, did I really take 11? And it wasn't like it was taking a toll on my life. Like I was getting it done. There were some years where one of them would miss a deadline or something would go on. I had to advocate for it. But I straight up was like, you do it this year, Diego. Like it's the last one. El último que nos queda. So it's funny, like resting my strength. Nada me pasaba. I've already done it 11 times. You know what? No, I'm going to take a break. You do camp. And it was funny because I let no one know too. How did it go with that? And it's been a couple weeks. And he's like, oh, I paid the money, but I did turn in his name one day late. He's on a wait list. And in my mind, I was like, don't judge it.
Yeah.
You deferred. You gave it up. It ain't your business. If he goes, if he doesn't go, if he gets off that wait list. A mí nada pasa. I deferred it. Had I taken it on, it would have been done that second. His name would have been that minute. It would have been paid that minute. We don't have to be resilient all the time. We can rest our strength. So that's a silly example, but it's a good example of me being like, I'm not going to do it this time.
Girl, that's resting your strength. For sure.
Right?
For sure. And
then
love
being
that.
okay
Yes.
if things aren't perfect.
También.
Once you're resting.
That's your resting. You're not
Yeah.
stressing. You're like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I should. Lo dejas que se te resbale. I love the football player example because yes, they have all this condition and all these doctors, but they also have an off season where they're resting and they're not playing.
Great point.
Right? Whereas, again, going back to our moms, like, son mujeres que no, bueno, y en el caso mío, nunca paraba. Like, okay, nunca se sentaban and like, you know, limpiaban and then the kids, this, that, like they never stopped. And so, yes, they were resilient, but then they also didn't have that off switch. And because I don't think it was ever taught to them, or maybe because, you know, they were brought up in another time, they thought, oh, si me siento, they're going to think like, oh, soy una floja, or ¿qué va a pensar mi suegra? You know, like they're going to think I'm lazy. But what I've discovered is that I need to take care of my body, listen to my body. How am I feeling? Can I do that? Can I add that more? And as I get older, you know, because things are hurting more, I've been more attuned to hear that, to listen to my body. I mean, like today I had thought like, oh, it's my mom's birthday. Like I want to go visit her at the cemetery. So I'll work half a day and then I'll go to the cemetery and then maybe take the rest of the day off. I don't know how I'm going to feel. And I was like kind of back and forth. And then my team, my paralegal and my JD caseworker, she was like, says just take the day off. You have PTO. I was like, you're right. I'm like, you're right. I should just take the day off. I'm like, however way I wake up. If I feel a certain way, cool. I'll tune into that. If I want to go for a run, I'll do that. Like whatever, como amanezca, that's what I'm going to do. And that's exactly what I did. I got up, stayed in bed for a little bit, but then got up, made breakfast, took the girls to school. And I was like, I'm going to go for a run. I listened to my body because my intention was to go kind of like a longer run, but I was like, oh, no, me siento cansada. It was warmer. I was just like, no. And then I had to go to Safeway anyway. So I was like, okay, I'll run a little bit and then I'll come back. So that was me listening to my body, shifting that mentality of tengo que hacerlo todo, tengo que terminarlo because that's what I said. No, like shifting it, like, let me listen to my body. Is this okay? Can I do that? And that's what I did. Anyway. Okay,
I was just thinking, sorry, like I was telling, and then
¿Qué?
I told my body, I'm gonna take care of it, and I told my body, ¿qué dijiste ahorita? And yes, sí puedes. Like, you know, the body said, yes, you could do it. You could do that. Like your body gave you permission, but then I was like, then your mind goes, no puedes, no lo hagas. You know, because a veces the mind has a mind of its own.
It's like the movie, Inside Out, man. It's like all the freaking feelings, all the emotions are fighting each other.
Oh my God, I know, right? Or yeah. I always think of that movie too when I think of the most randomest song that I haven't heard in years, or like a little tune or jingle from like a commercial from years ago. I'm like, oh my God, me aventaron la bolita, you know, the little ball.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about legacy, okay? So our legacy, we are creating our own legacy, but it also has obviously bits and pieces from our mothers again, from our parents, from our tias maybe. So with that in mind, what does creating a legacy look like for you? And we were talking about family, we're talking about career, we're talking about community. So what does creating a legacy look like for you, and any daily practices that help you stay aligned with that vision of what the legacy will look like, or your legacy will look like?
I think for me, like one legacy that I carry forward is that my mom is and was a hard worker, and my dad was as well. So I definitely come from your stereotypical hardworking Latino family. It is a common thread amongst all Latinos, it feels like. And I can't speak for all of us because I'm sure there's lazy Latinos, but it does feel like we carry such a beautiful collective hardworking experience, especially immigrants in this country, in the U.S. And so I carry forward that it's okay to work hard. I'm not saying to burn out. I'm not saying to be unhappy. So my legacy forward is that I'm okay with the idea that I come from a long-standing family that works hard. I like that I'm a hard worker. I like that I project hard work. I don't want my kids to be workaholics. I don't want them to only live to work. And I think that that has been something that I have shown as my legacy for my children. And I want them to take that forward, that I want them to be excited and willing to work hard for all the things they love and they want, and that will take hard work. I really want my kids to see that nothing is given to you, that you must build what you want, that you should believe in what you want. I'm always talking to my kids about manifestation. And just the other day, my son got into the most competitive program in his majors department. And he had a moment of like, do I do it? Do I stay the track that I'm on? I'm going to stay in management. I got in under intended management, but I want to do finance. Finance is the best one. Anyway, he got into finance. It was beautiful because we were all happened to be together. We're sitting at a table with 10 people visiting him. And he checks this email and he's like, Mom, I got into finance, Mom and Dad. And so we're all excited. We're all celebrating. And in a moment of quiet, he says, I manifested this, Mom. I know I worked hard for it, but I've been manifesting it too. And in my mind, I was like, that is so his mama talking. That is his mama talking. But I'm not going to say, I know, I told you, I want it to be his idea. And I want him to know that's our legacy, that you work hard and you believe it's going to happen for you. And I go, really? How? Tell me. And he's like, well, I always tell people, I'm an intended business major. And then once you apply, like we all know that we're trying for the other thing we're going for. And I would tell people like, well, I'm intended business, but I'm trying for finance. Well, I'm intended business, but I actually changed it to finance. And then like a couple of days ago, I was like, I'm just telling people I'm a finance major. And it's funny because like, what if he had not gotten into finance? Like that story would have changed with the few people he said that with. Anyway, long and short of it is he is through and through a finance major because of his hard work. Number one, like he got into a competitive major because he earned it. And number two, because he believed that it was for him. And I feel like that's my legacy, that I show my kids that you could have whatever you want. No, it's not going to be handed to you. All of these things have to happen. Like this chain of events have to happen. Like you have to be in the right school. You have to have the right grades. You have to be in the right department. You have to get now he has to finish with this very competitive, difficult major. He was in a orientation like 2 days later. So everybody was like, wow, that was fast. And he's like, Mom, I'm even more hyped. I'm hyped because they keep talking about how competitive this major is. And that for me makes me so happy because I feel like that's my legacy, that I want my kids to think you can do the hard thing. You can be in the place that you deserve, that you've earned, and you can feel proud that you've earned it and that is yours. And I feel that is my legacy, that I feel I'm showing that to my kids in practice by the way I live my life. And now I'm watching them be that way, the way they live their lives, a little glimpse that I'm getting of my 19-year-old 1 year into adulthood. But then I go back to my mom. My mom was the first person that believed if you see it, you can have it. El que boca tiene Roma llega. My mom always believed she could go far. 1 year of education, but I can do it. I can buy a house. I can live in this country. I can figure out the language. I can raise these kids by myself. I can be an independent woman. Like all the things she had to first believe in her head and then do. Like that's her legacy. I carry it forward and I watch my kids, God willing, do that for themselves. Last thing I'll say about that, this week, we've been all about our kids' activities and they're all doing their activities right now. The oldest is into his stuff. And we just, again, took like 10 people to see his frat, which was so fun to see. Fraternity. They tell me not to call it a frat. It's a fraternity for men, not frat boys. I hope they hear this one day. I'm carrying their legacy. My daughter is killing it in theater. She's doing behind the house for the first time. And so she's on like the tech team and she's like living her best life this week. And tech is the hardest week, but this is like her second show tonight. She has 4. And then my son had his first race for cross country. All 4 this week are like doing their thing, the thing they love, the thing they're passionate about. My youngest actually didn't get into cross the way he was supposed to. We were out of the country. It wasn't his fault. He missed the tryout. 100 kids got in before him. And instead of him taking it, sit it down, again, our legacy, my husband was like, who do you have to email? Who do you have to ask about a chance to still, even though they said, no, there's no spots. You can't make the team. You're out. Like this is his thing. He loves track. He loves running. And he's like, you're right. I guess I'll figure out the email thing tomorrow. And as he's writing the email with his dad, I'm like, and what can you give for them? What can you do back? Like not only ask for this favor, but what can you do? He's like, what do you think, Mom? What are some good ideas? I don't know. Maybe you'll help manage the team. Maybe you can assist the coach. Give something back for the opportunity to try out late. Sure enough, they give him a tryout. He's one of the only kids that did that. The lady was like, well done advocating for yourself. He's got to practice and everyone's watching him run by himself. They're like, Noah, why are you running? What are you doing, Noah? And he's like, I'm at my tryout. I'm at my tryout. He's like writing his heart out because he wants to be like under 17 minutes. I don't even know why. Or 17 miles. 17 minutes, probably wrong. One of the two. Anyway, he's running and the lady's like, oh, by the way, you made the team, announces him to the whole group. He happened to be out of the country. We gave him an opportunity. He's made the team. All this had to happen. My son had to have resilience. My son had to work hard. My son had to believe in himself. He had to advocate for himself. It was definitely not handed to him. He could have given up. It was already taken away. Mom and dad were like problem solving. Like, no, in this family, we all do the thing we enjoy. We go after the thing we love. And we knew if he took it sitting down, what's he going to do? Everybody else is doing their thing this week. Everybody else. My husband and I are going on a date tonight. Everybody else is doing their thing this week. And he didn't get left behind. And that's our legacy. My hope is that one day when I'm gone and they still have this sound bite of their mom, they can hear that they can have whatever they want if they work hard enough, if they're willing to put themselves out there, if they're willing to ask for second chances and show up and get those second chances. And that makes me emotional because I think I make my mom proud and I make her legacy really grow because that's how I'm raising my kids.
Wow, I love the full circle from your mom to you, the manifestation, which is one of your daily routines, rituals, to now your kids. I love it. Thank you for sharing.
Let's just end it right there. Let's end it right there.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I know. Like, yeah, okay.
I'm in.
Mic drop.
I'm in.
The Church of Irene. Vero always tells me we preach. Es la iglesia.
I'm in. Sí, yo.
Yeah,
Sí,
the
sí,
Church of
sí.
Irene. Sí. Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Y tú, Vero, what's your legacy? Or how are you creating your legacy?
I'm creating my legacy. I'm still figuring it out, right? Because just for a while now, things like are all over the place, right? But there's one thing that I do hope my kids understand is that not everything is permanent. Everything is temporary. And you really you've got to go through life with hope, faith, and a lot of finding the good in the bad, right? Porque we always focus, I don't want my kids, because I don't do this myself. And it's helped me so much through life that sorry, I'm hearing them fight and now I'm like distracted. Mommy.
I know. Así estaban ahorita las mías.
Hey, it's okay. It's life.
It's
life.
Friday.
If you're listening
It's Friday
to this,
night.
your kids are probably fighting behind the
My
scenes,
legacy
too.
That's
is
their legacy.
fighters.
They can be
van
fighters.
a ser guerreros, eso sí, for sure. But I'm just like, that there's, there's always good at the end of the day, right? We're going to face hardship. We're going to face challenges, but to have that belief in themselves that they can overcome things, right? So when you fall, it's not the end of things. When you fail, it's not the end. When you trip, it's not the end. And when they're trying to come over here and fight now, like, it's funny. ¿Qué pasa?
Ya no me estamos tratando esto.
No, ¿ves? Híjole, van a quebrar el remote. Mami, van a quedar grabados aquí.
Gali's innocent. Gali's
Ok,
innocent.
los tres se van para allá entonces. ¿Quién quebró esto?
Joaquín. Yo puse el control ahí.
¡Salud!
Y no puse
Salud.
no puse el WhatsApp porque quería agarrar unas papitas y Joaquín.
Vero's legacy is like in action right now.
Seguí.
know.
Encuentren solución. Encuentren solución. Váyanse para allá y encuentren solución.
¿Puedo poner un capítulo?
Solitos encuentran la solución.
Oh my God, it's
over
the number
there.
3 is over here to number. Mande, ¿qué pasó?
¿Puedo poner una cosa que me gusta en la tele?
¿Puedes hablar bien con tu hermana y hacer una decisión entre ustedes dos? Por favor, sin pelear.
Así que no.
Habla bien con ella. Okay.
Aquí está la muestra de cómo. This is the example of how
Yo ahorita te ayudo.
she's establishing her legacy, passing it
Well,
on,
if I could,
telling her
just
kids.
fuck her up.
Mama.
Beat her up. Yeah, use your strength. Win. Take the remote.
Yeah.
But then, no, because we don't hit, boys should not
Yeah.
hit girls or men should not hit
We don't.
women, right? You find your
Right.
words and you ask, can you hear Mr. Burpee over there? Anyway, point is, I want them
Sí.
to understand that regardless of problems, regardless of anything, you can figure it out. It's going to be, everything's figure outable. Estos. But yeah, I'm figuring it out, you guys, as we go. I want them to live happy, joyous, good lives when they're good to people, kind to the people around them, and kind to each other, because our family's small. It's a small little unit, and the family's outside of it. Oh, we have to make time for them. I want them to make time for each other. I want to spend time with my brother and my sister because we're going to talk about our parents because they're gone now, and what do we remember about them, and how do we feel when we were around them. So that's all that. So I'm going to go on mute now, Ceci, so you can take it away.
Oh my God, yes, for sure. Talking to our siblings, talking about like, in this case, remembering my mom, the things, like remembering her legacy, trying to create our own legacy. I'm the same way. I mean, with my kids too, I want them to be themselves. I want them to go out there and explore everything and be themselves in every space. I feel like that's my legacy. I like being myself, my real true self in all of my spaces, at home, at work, with my friendships. I like that, and I want them to feel the same and at school and with their friends and just enjoy life. I know with me, part of my legacy is keeping my culture alive and passing that on to my girls. Paula loves pozole, she likes to be in the kitchen. I wasn't in the kitchen growing up, but now I like to cook. I wish I could cook more often, but time. But that, my culture, my music, traditions, like that's my legacy, honoring my past. I now have like a daily ritual of saying good morning to my mom. Like I do that. Like I have her la estampita with her face on it, with her favorite saint, San Judas Tadeo, and I have a little statue of San Judas Tadeo, St. Jude, that my mom gave me. And I have like a little tiny altar in my walk-in closet with some, like a, ¿cómo se llama? Una serie de luces. How do you say that in English?
A series of lights?
Like a light.
Like
a string
like
light?
a string?
A string of lights.
Yeah,
Like
a string of lights. Yeah,
Yeah.
like for Christmas, but like whatever, from like the Dollar Tree or whatever. Anyway, I have it around the saint. And my daily ritual is to go in there, turn on the little light switch of my light little decor, and grab my mom's little picture and little estampita que dice Buenos días, mami. And now I feel that when I don't do that, don't do that or forget, and then I'm like, oh, mommy, I forgot, I go back in there, and it makes me think of like in life when I used to, check in on her or say good morning every day, and then I would forget and I would get busy. I would get a text message from her like later on in the day, like, hey, ahora no nos hemos dado los buenos días. We haven't said good morning to each other. So it reminds me of that. Like when I remember to do it, I was like, oh, it's her sending me like the little reminder, like tapping my little brain, like, hey, no me has dicho los buenos días. In fact, today, it's crazy because I always feel like the signs and all that. Today I was like trying to rush and get ready, and I'm like, do I want to put on makeup? No, maybe not. But I was trying to get ready, and I went in there to put a jacket away, and then my hair got caught on the little light thing, and I felt like it was her pulling my hair, like, hey, like, slow down. It's okay. Slow down, Anyway, that's part of my legacy, my daily routines, my culture. This episode, like I really wanted to talk about these things today and today more so because it's her birthday, and like the way I celebrate her, the way I want to like bring her up any chance I get, because I just want to keep her spirit, alive. And then me just being myself, like that's my legacy again, being myself, dancing, singing, grabbing my daughters to dance, grabbing my husband to dance with like no music. That's who I am. And also celebrating me, like, todos las cositas, just celebrating me. Like that's who I am. That's how I want to be remembered. Like, ¿te acuerdas my mom se ponía a cantar como loca o bailar como loca? And, that's how I want to be remembered. Yeah. All right. I am up to the last question, and this is about healing, but also more like a tip for our listeners. So for our listeners, right? So for someone who's just beginning their healing journey, or even someone that's still, they're going through it, what's one tip that you would give them about releasing old wounds and embracing growth?
Forgive yourself. Let it go. No vale la pena to hold on to things, dwell on the past, girl. Like,
amen.
I've been there. What could I have done better? What could I have done when it's come to heartbreak, when it's come to me messing up, when I've cheated, when I've, whatever it is, you gotta forgive yourself. You gotta look back and think like, what am I doing causing this sacrifice? Life is already hard as it is. Why am I making it that much harder for myself? And one thing I'm going to tell you is that it's never too late to give yourself a chance, to give yourself a second chance. That's what I mean, right? We all mess up. We all make mistakes. We're human and God made us this way. And we say we're perfect in God's eyes, but we are imperfect because we are not God. We are not who this perfect being is, right? We're meant to live and learn and grow. And I feel that we need to be more forgiving with ourselves and once we're able to do that, the real healing can happen. So give yourself a second chance. Give yourself that shot to forgive and grow, baby.
I love it.
I think too that old wounds are lessons, and they're good lessons if you allow it, because a lot of bad stuff, funny enough, leads to good stuff. And it sucks, because in the moment it sucks to go through it. But I can think of a lot of times where things didn't go right, and I'm like, this ended up being good for me. And I see it in my mom's life, I see it in my life, my husband's life. It worked out, but adversity sucks in the moment. So my tip is that while you're going through it, it sucks, but there is something that is leading you to something greater, even if it's just changing you, transforming you, growing you, because we all have to grow. That's a part of life. We all have to grow in this life. It's what the privilege that we get to live and to get better and to develop and to not stay stagnant and stuck. We are meant to be our best selves and grow in whatever direction and whatever that means for us, not comparing ourselves to others, but we're meant to be our best selves as we grow and learn, right? We all learn obviously by doing, and we're going to, like Vero said, do it wrong half the time or mess up. And forgiveness, A, and then second, don't lose the lesson. And whatever that moment of wound healing needs to be, and wherever you created that wound, like it's going to make you. This guy I used to listen to used to say, there's a seed. There's always a seed in your adversity. And so something's going to grow from it. So it's really going to make you sow that seed in the end. Like something good's going to come out of that really shitty thing.
Oh man, I agree. And my tip is short and sweet, because I know we're gonna relieve you of your duties, Miss Irene, to go on your date. My tip is short and sweet: therapy. And I feel like if I would have started earlier, maybe I would have had all this growth and wisdom sooner. But it's better late than never. So therapy, it's not taboo. Get out there, try it out. It's not for everyone, but try it out. No va a doler, lo prometo. Thank you so much for indulging me in this topic today, ladies. Thank you so much on a Friday night. Pero gracias por escucharnos a todos. Thank you for listening today. If you want to keep the conversation growing, yes, growing, let's grow together. If you want to keep the conversation going, you know how to find us. Our handles on social media are at Level Up Latina on Instagram and Facebook. También estamos en LinkedIn, actually. LinkedIn. And if you want to shoot us an email, our email is admin@leveluplatina.com. Our website is leveluplatina.com, where you can find all about our guilt-free squad and our collectives when they do occur, and just find out more about our business. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you. That's a wrap, ladies.
Thank you.
Go out there. Go out there and enjoy your day.
Se cuidan, se la lavan.
And flexible. Date night.
Good.
And so resilient and flexible.
Oh, there you go.
Hey.